The New Testament that we read was written in a time that was actually referred to as the time of tribulation. And that was revealed to Daniel in Daniel 12. He said there's going to be a time of tribulation like has never been or ever been on the earth. And it was all dealing with the system that was to bring forth the Christ that now got so perverted and sinned themselves to bankruptcy that they actually crucified their Messiah. And this system had to be removed. So the 40 years after the cross deals with this. But this is the time where our New Testament was written. So the New Testament often refers to the time of tribulation, people going through tribulation. And that was the time of tribulation. It's not the kingdom. The kingdom has already come, but it's very clear. He says in Hebrews that the Holy Spirit now signifies that the new cannot come and fully function while the old is still a recognized institution. So the books of the New Testament was written in this time. The book of Revelation was written just before 70 AD because the inside information in the book reveals that there are things that must shortly come to pass. And then he finishes off with a final vision. And we pick this up that the preachers were warning people towards to have patience towards the end and to overcome what is coming on the earth. Now, if we pick it up in 1 Peter 1:13, he says, "Whereof gird off the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end." What is this end? This end is the end of that second world that was to prepare for the Christ, because he says in Hebrews, now at the end of the world, Christ brought the final sacrifice. But they did not receive the sacrifice. They just kept on with their sacrifices. The veil rent, I always wondered, did they sew this thing back together again because they just kept on bringing sacrifices? So Daniel talks about the final sacrifice that had to be removed. And that happened 70 AD at the burning of Jerusalem and the temple. It was exactly 40 years after the cross. That 40 years is the generation that called for his blood. And it's also the day of vengeance. And it's a day of darkness, because Jesus said, "Rise, shine, for your light has come." But gross darkness is coming the same time. And this is the gross darkness the Bible is talking about. So he says here, you must get your mind sober and hope to the end. Now, this was not written for the church world as we know it now. This was written for the infant church that was busy being prepared. Israel was the woman that was going to bring forth a man-child, but the daughter of Zion was the people that heeded these warnings. They were called the daughter of Zion, and they brought forth the church. Now, in the Spirit, please remember, you read it, and the Spirit overlaps, and it mixes up. The Spirit has no time and no boundaries. So when the Spirit speaks, it is like patterns that repeat and repeat. So this will repeat again for the final generation, because the earth is a dark place. It's a fallen creation, and it will all come to a final end again. But here it speaks about the removing of that old system. And he says to these people, hey guys, be sober, keep your mind straight, to the end, for the grace that is to brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Whoa! He is writing to people that are already Christians. They have already received grace. The first time grace is mentioned was Noah. Noah found grace, and the Old Testament, they found grace. They found grace. And in that world, it was the heroes of faith before faith came, because it was a shadow of the good things to come. A shadow of the good things mean after the cross, this is the good things that threw a shadow that side. And we have to understand that these people, they stepped in and they were righteous in their generation, but they were never perfected in their spirits. It only came by Christ. So in the Old Testament, they found grace. Now grace found us and brought mercy. So now these people have already got grace and mercy and truth, and they've already received the seed of life within them. And he says, whoa, you must hope till the end, till grace is being brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Now we have to understand times and seasons and realms. Revelation 15 says, the temple in heaven is opened, but no one can enter while the vials has not been poured out on the temple on earth. So the minute the vials were poured out on the temple on earth, the temple in heaven was opened. Now heaven is not a planet or a place there, because heaven has already come down to earth. When Jesus came, he said, no one has seen the Father except he that comes from heaven, who is in heaven. And he brought heaven right into this realm. So the Spirit was breathed upon. The second generation man has already began. And then the people were filled with the Spirit. But the kingdom has not been in functioning. People could only see the kingdom. When Jesus had the Emmaus disciples, as he broke the bread with them, their eyes opened. They could see the kingdom because they could recognize the Christ. But to enter, the kingdom had to really get functioning. And Hebrews 9 says, the Holy Spirit now signifies that the new cannot come while the old is still a recognized institution. And this is what happened. This is why we have a day of vengeance, because they held on to the old. Matthew 23 says, they sit in Moses' seat, and sitting there, their eyes were blinded in such a way because they worshipped the system and they didn't understand what the system stood for. So now at the revelation of Jesus Christ, there's going to come a big change. And what is changing there is the kingdom will be open.